from the 11th century till 1959, they brought the logbook, and the logbook shows that 125,000 people went just from that monastery alone like that. So it's not rare cases once in a while, in King Ashok's time or something like that, or maybe whatever, King Arthur's time or something like that, a time like that. And then there is what is called going to Khecharloka. Khecharloka is a Vajrayogini, practice specially, but other practices also. Khecharloka, there are two types. The higher type is where the body vanishes. If the person went to Khecharloka with the body. And the other type is where the body remains like this, for 10, 15, 20 days and so on, like the Guru's here. So these are various ways, manifestations of enlightened people and enlightened proof of enlightened lineage. So when you take an empowerment from a person, it should be from an enlightened lineage and somebody who has received those empowerments and has practiced those. Not somebody who just reads it out of a book. Tantra books, texts, and the empowerment of Tantra is considered so powerful that, let's say, Joe can read it. So he gives you guys all the empowerment and everything, and you practice the mantras, you will attain siddhi, powers to do things and those kind of things, But both Joe and you will go to hell after death. So that it is that powerful. So if you take it from an enlightened lineage master, authentic master, then it's very powerful in transforming yourself. And that's very important to understand. You don't take this thing like new age types, you don't read it out of the YouTube and decide you've received the empowerment and practice on your own or something like that. Because these are very, very powerful practices like Sandali, Tummo. I met a Japanese, I knew him, he knew Tibetan, and so he took the Tibetan books back to Japan and read them and practiced the Tummo practice. And the heat started arising, and finally his entire lower belly split open, and then he ran to the hospital, and the doctors were like stunned. What did you do? Did you cut yourself? Like harakiri or something? No. And he couldn't explain to them what he did, So he said, just stitch me up, please. Just stitch me up, And he had this stitched mark right through all this, So these practices are very powerful. If you don't take it from a correct, authentic master with the authentic instructions and so on, they are very powerful. And as they say, Vajrayana is like a bamboo with a snake inside. There are only two ways the snake goes, either straight up or straight down. So that's Vajrayana. It's kind of both of them. One is that there's an energy blessing, what is called Adhisthana in Sanskrit, Jinlap in Tibetan, is carried through to the lineage. So the Vajrayana process is swift and fast because of those blessings. Which does not mean that it's going to happen only by those blessings. You have to make your effort too, right? But it's quicker and faster. But there's the other point which you said is like there are minute, very fine instructions that are carried down through the centuries, and those are really related to experiential things. So an unbroken lineage has all the necessary instructions, and the person has experienced them too, So he can give those instructions. Now, if you don't have those instructions, then again it's the practices are kind of vague, and then everybody can have his own kind of experience and those kind of thing. It has to go towards a certain direction, correct direction. For example, let me give an example. When you meditate, actually any kind of meditate, but more powerfully if you do meditations on tantric practices, tantra practices, the three things arise: clarity, bliss, and non-thought. Now, many systems around the world take one of these as the enlightened state. When there is no thought, complete, then they think that's non-conceptual. and that is the enlightened state. Some, when there is extreme clarity of awareness, just remaining by itself, they think that is the enlightened state. Some people think bliss arising, that is the purpose of meditation, bliss, that's most important. But in the instructions, you are required, you are told, if you have a correct master, not to cling to any of them, because none of them are enlightenment. They contribute to enlightenment, but none of them are enlightenment per se. Now these kind of things, if you don't have those instructions, then you can cling to clarity, you can cling to non-thought, you can cling to bliss, and then go on. And there are many people in other traditions who cling to bliss. They have powerful blissful experiences, and they think that is the enlightened state. And they believe that if you are enlightened, you must be blissful, almost, or maybe blissed out, completely blissed out continuously. So these kind of minute things, and then in the practice of Tummo, for example, there are very minute instructions that are important. Because otherwise, as I said, it can be dangerous, like the Japanese who had his lower belly split open. But if you have the correct instruction, the lower belly won't split open. So it's both. The lineage blessing and the instructions are intact. And one of the reasons why in Hinduism there's so much mix up right now is that the lineages are gone. So the lineage blessing and also the lineage instructions are dead. So each master is his own master. He just creates his own interpretations of the thing, gives his own instructions and so on. But there is a saying in Buddhism, no matter how great the master is, if he contradicts the Buddha's teaching, he is not a Buddhist master. So no matter how Vajrayana or Zen or so on, they don't contradict the Buddha's teaching. They are teaching the Buddha's teaching. Maybe the wordings are different, sometimes even contradictory, but they are teaching the Buddha's teaching. And if it is not the Buddha's teaching, if it is against the Buddha's teaching, it contradicts the Buddha's teaching, then that is not Buddhism. Then it can't be Vajrayana or Zen or anything. So in Zen, the use of words are done differently. So sometimes they seem to say, kill the Buddha. But they don't really mean kill the Buddha. Kill the Buddha means your concept of Buddha. Your concept of Buddha, kill that, because that is what is hindering you from realizing Buddha. So the wordings can be misinterpreted very easily, but if you are with a genuine Zen master, and then you are guided properly. In the same way in Vajrayana also. Yeah, I already said that these word emptiness used in Yoga Vasishtha and interpreted in the commentaries are different from what Buddhism means by emptiness. So the word did say that the word emptiness comes in Yoga Vasishtha, which is a 15th century text actually, very late. It comes in Ashtavakra Gita, which is like 15th, 14th, 13th century. It comes in Avadut Gita, but the meaning of the emptiness there is different from what Buddhism means by emptiness. And I gave the example that we can say in English, this room is empty. That is not the meaning of emptiness, shunyata, in Vajrayana or any form of Mahayana or even in Theravada. Theravada also has the word sunya. Sunya is the Pali word. But nowadays there are no Theravadi teachers who can teach the meditation of sunya anymore. But the word in the sutta is found. He says, the Bhagavan himself says, aniccato means impermanence, dukhato, suffering, anattato, anatma, no self, and sunyato, emptiness. He uses that word. But to understand what Buddhism means by emptiness, your question is very good, because this is the crux of the matter of what Hindus mistake Buddhism is about. And no Hindus, including Sankaracharya and so on, have understood the Buddhist emptiness. Why do I say that? Because the way they refuted emptiness in their commentaries shows they are refuting something else. They are not refuting what Buddhism means by emptiness. And right through the centuries, even today, no Hindu Swamis really understand what emptiness means, because they haven't studied with a lineage master. Even Rajneesh, who gave a lot of teaching on the Buddhism, he was like one of the few Hindu Swamis who praised the Buddha and Buddhism. But unfortunately, because he never studied with any unbroken, enlightened lineage master of any Buddhist tradition, he does know emptiness. And he does know a lot of texts. He gave commentaries on many Buddhist texts, but they are all Hindu commentaries to me. When I read through them, they are Hindu commentaries, not real Buddhist commentary. So they are different. And you might ask, what is emptiness Buddhism? But that is something that is a complete, total lecture by itself, number one. And second, Nagarjuna, who was the best propounder, he was not the beginner, the best propounder of Shunyata, in the Mahayana tradition. And even many Theravadis agree to that he was the best propounder of emptiness in Buddhism, said not to teach emptiness to people who are not ready for it. Because otherwise, if you are not ready for it and you misconstrue it, misconceive it, then it is like catching the snake by the tail. The snake will bite you. You will turn towards nihilism. You will think that Buddhism is teaching nihilism. You have to catch the snake, you have to catch it on the neck, right? If you catch it on the tail, it will bite you back. So Nagarjuna used that metaphor. If you teach emptiness to people who are not ready, then it is like giving them a snake and they hold on to the snake by the tail. So that's why in Buddhism it's given only to people who are ready for it. And that is the reason why most Hindu Swamis who are educated and have read books and so on don't know about it. As I said, Hinduism is so complex, and very complicated, and especially regarding Buddhism, they have confused the Hindu Swamis for centuries, have just totally confused everybody in the Indian subcontinent. I'll give you an example. Vivekananda Swami, there's like 14 or 15 volumes of his teachings all over the world, right? And he claims that the Buddhists did not understand the Buddha, but he understood the Buddha. That is very weird, a statement for a famous person like him. Buddhist meaning Buddha's own disciples who he validated as arhats. Are you really going to believe that those arhats didn't understand Buddha? And then those arhats validated the next generation arhats. And they didn't understand the Buddha through the century. And 2,500 years in 19th century, Vivekananda, who is a Hindu, who never read any Buddhist book, never came in contact with any Buddhist teacher, understood Buddha. These are the kind. And then the Hindu people just believe him blindly. That must be correct. His idea was the Buddha actually taught the Veda. That's the thing. He actually taught the Veda, but the Buddhists didn't understand him. These kind of statements have been made from 12th century onward by thousands and thousands and thousands of Swami, and that has completely confused the people of the Indian subcontinent. And a lot of Western people too, because the majority of gurus that go to the West are Indian gurus. And they're confused, completely confused. If they stick to their Hinduism, that's fine. But I don't know why they need to talk about Buddhism too. They don't know what Buddhism is. They've never studied with a genuine authority, and yet they give lectures on Buddhism. They give commentaries on Buddhist texts. And when you go through those commentaries, you find it's a Hindu commentary. It's like if you believed in Atma, that's real self, and you believe in God, then you read those texts and give the interpretation according to that. And I have already said, in Buddhism there is no Atma, in Buddhism there is no Ishwar, God. So then that cannot be interpreted that way. Of course, you can interpret it that way if you want to, but that is not Buddhist interpretation, and that is not Buddhism. Well, Hindu is, would not like to make a blanket statement for Hinduism, because Hinduism is very vast. There are so many different schools, they are so totally different from each other, that it's not correct to give a blanket statement for all of Hinduism. People use the word Hinduism, but you see, Advaita, non-dualism, is not, it contradicts dualism, right? If you take Ramanuj Vasishtha Advaita and Madhavacharya's Dvaita, dualism and special dualism, their system, their method, their theology, their philosophy contradicts Shankaracharya's Advaita, and no wonder Bhaskaracharya, even that was in 12th, 13th century, even called Shankaracharya crypto-Buddhist, Prasanna Bauddha, called Shankaracharya Prasanna Bauddha. So we cannot really encompass all of Hinduism in a blanket word. I hesitate to do that. But normally, like you say, it could be most of Hinduism is normative. There are follow norms, you follow it. Follow it. But also, I think we need to distinguish between Hindus who meditate, practice, and so on, and Hindus who just follow the cultural patterns. There are Buddhists also who just follow the cultural patterns, not just Hindus. Their cultures, and they just follow it. Like, for example, Shraddha, Vartaman, all these, they just follow it. They do Vartaman, but today, probably 99.99% Brahmin sons who take Vartaman don't repeat the Gayatri mantra. Some of them don't even wear the jana anymore, and they wear it only in special occasions, and so on. So these are culture, and we find that in Buddhism also. Ancient Buddhist families, many of them don't meditate. Some of them don't really know what Buddhism is correctly. They just follow the culture. So in that way, it's normative. But Hinduism also has meditations. One major difference between Hinduism and Buddhism is in meditation. Hinduism also has meditation, Sufism also has meditation, and some forms of Christianity also has meditation, right? And in Buddhist Abhidharma is the system that categorizes, and breaks down what the Buddha taught into different aspects and so on. In the Abhidharma, there are two major types of meditation called Samatha and Vipassana. Vipassana. Now, the word Vipassana is very confusing in Nepal, because Sri Goenkaji introduced Vipassana, Theravadi Vipassana in Buddha Kantha. Everybody thinks that's Vipassana. Yeah, that is Vipassana. That is, in Pali it is called Vipassana. But all of Buddhism has Vipassana. Sanskrit is Vipassana. All forms of Buddhism has Vipassana. And coming to meditation, there are two major types of meditation. Samatha. Sama is in Sanskrit, and in Nepali we say Saman, Eknas, and in English, etymologically, it's the same word, same. Sama, same, the mind remains the same, and Tha is a shortening of Stha. Stha again is very close to the English word stay. So the mind stays the same. So I take an object and then meditate on it until mind stays the same for 2 hours, 3 hours, 6 hours, whatever. Exactly, just that object is in the mind. So that is samatha. There are millions of kinds of samatha. Buddha also picked up from what was there in the Indian subcontinent, not necessarily Hinduism as people think, because in the time of Buddha there was no Hinduism, there was Vedic Brahmanism, no Hinduism. Now, there was no Hare Ram, Hare Krishna in the time of the Buddha. There was Vedic Brahmanism and Shramanism. Shramans were those who went into the forest to meditate to find the answer to life. And this has nothing to do with, I said Vedic Brahmanism, but this is not related to Brahmin caste. Many Brahmins left Vedic Brahmanism and went to Shraman teachers. Because Vedas do not have questions about what is life, what is afterlife, is this all there is, what am I, what is there to it, and so on. They don't really have much questions. Rig Veda has a little bit of exploration of various gods and so on. The others are mostly Havan and Yagyas, fire sacrifice. Fire sacrifice. The idea is I do fire sacrifice to the various gods, and those gods appease them, and those gods make my life happy here. And today such people are called Agnihotri. They spend their entire life doing fire sacrifice morning and evening and so on. Now Agnihotris hardly exist anymore. And today's Hinduism, which is derived from Vedic Brahmanism, but is not Vedic Brahmanism, is very different from that. How many Hindus continue to do fire sacrifice? And in the Vedas, there is no Hare Ram, Hare Krishna. In the Vedas, the highest god was Indra. Vishnu and so on were lower down than him. And they were called Devas. Indra, Vishnu, they were all called Devas, not Bhagavan. Brahma was called Bhagavan. Brahma, not Brahma, Brahma, was called Bhagavan. Buddha was the first personality in the Indian subcontinent that was called Bhagavan, translated in English as Lord Buddha, Lord, Bhagavan, And then later Krishna, Ram, so on are also called Bhagavan. And if you read Shivaraj Kaundanya, writing Ved Mool Rup Ma, he has said very clearly, today's Hinduism is not Vedic. Why? Vaishnavism is not Vedic. You can find verses through the centuries where the Vedic system fought against the integration of Vaishnavism. Vaishnavim chata saivim cha, so anyam ditham samacharet. Vaishnavas and Shaivas, and those who take initiation in other system, meaning Jains and Buddhists. Brahmano na bhavet, they are not Brahmins. Yadibi syat sautangabid, even if they know all the 6 limbs of the Vedas, they are not Brahmins. These are found in Yagyavalkya Smriti's commentaries and so on. Means through the centuries there was a tussle in the integration, but later centuries Vaishnavism entered into Vedic system and Shaivism entered into Vedic system, and they became integrated and they were called Hinduism. So during the time of the Buddha there was no Hinduism. There were Shramans, and Shaivas were also Shramans. And Jains were Shraman. Mahavir himself called himself Shraman. And the Buddha himself called himself Shraman. And they were Vedic Brahmins. There were interactions. Hundreds and thousands of Vedic Brahmins came to ask him questions, that we do this, we do that, what do you think of that? These kind of questions. He answered them, and many of them became his disciples. So as he went around India, the northern part of India, basically what is called UP and Bihar today, he taught around them. And Bihar, the word Bihar means monasteries. Today, why is it called Bihar even today? Because there are so many Biharas all over what is called Bihar today, Buddhist Biharas. So Hinduism is very complex. It's a very, very, very complex animal with many, many, many systems combined, even with Buddhist ideas in it, Jain ideas in it, and Shaivism has been integrated into it, Vaishnavism has been integrated into it, But what Shaivas practice and what Vaishnavas practice are not the same. They're very different, And sometimes you find even in the 19th century, Shaivas and Vaishnavas fighting against each other. You find records of that. So all of them is Hinduism in one blanket terminology. So that's why I hesitate to say just what was the word you used? Nominal? Normative, yeah. Just normative. All Hinduism is just normative. There are meditators in Hinduism who go deep, really make the effort up in the Kedar and so on, and for years and years go into deep samatha. But in Buddhism, samatha is not does not produce enlightenment. It is just conducive to enlightenment. It can be used for enlightenment. But just samatha alone is going into deep trance, and there are many, many, many levels of trance which are called samadhis. In Buddhism there is pratham dhyan, ditya dhyan, tritiya dhyan, so they are all samadhis, deeper and deeper and deeper levels of samadhis, and finally there is just pure awareness by itself, and you reach in that samadhi, and you even go beyond that, neither awareness nor non-awareness, and so on like that. These are just samadhis, they are just samatha, and they do not address ignorance, nescience, they do not address my kleshas. During that process, my kleshas, emotional defilements, sleep, go latent, but still remain there. They have not been uprooted. Nothing has been done, And there is a story of Sarapa, one of the great 84 Mahasiddhas, Buddhist Mahasiddhas, whose name is found in the Nath lineage also, But the Nath lineage do not have any of his dohas. It is still found in Tibetan, and even his original ancient Indian language, dohas are found. Dohas are found. For example, Karuna rahiya jo sunnama lagga uttima magga naiso pava uttima magga. Ahava means atava. Ahava karuna kevala sa'a. Sa'a means sadhyo. Sa'a janmantare mukhyana pava. Jaipuri भने जसले पनि Puni Ben Navi Duita. Ben Navi is Duita is two, but Ben Navi is close to binary. Ben Navi is two. Jodana Sakka. Karuna and Sunita. Jodana Sakka. Jodanu Sakyo is close to Nepali. Gorana Sakka, Nau Bhava Naudi Bana. No Bhava, no Nirvana. He is free from both Nirvana. I just said one doha of Sara. He says, he who meditates on emptiness, is not on the right path. He who meditates only on compassion will not attain liberation at all. He who is capable of uniting the two, then he is free from both samsara and nirvana. So this is Doha's original, Sara's original word. Is still found. And Sara was a Brahmin. His wife was a Buddhist. He used to meditate, and one day he went to his house and asked his wife, please make gajar ko halwa. This is carrot halwa. Halwa. Then he went into meditation and he went into samadhi. He came out after 12 hours. Then he said, where's my gajar ko halwa? Then his wife said, what kind of samadhi is this? What kind of meditation is this? If you cannot forget gajar ke halwa in 12 hours, what's the use of this meditation? Then Sara thought, yeah, that's right. That's correct. So what to do? Then she taught him vipassana. Vipassana. There are many kinds of vipassana. The one that is taught by Sri Goenka is only one kind of vipassana. She taught him vipassana, he meditated on that, and he became a Mahasiddha. A very famous Mahasiddha, and he had 1,000 Brahmin disciples who were also Siddhas. Siddhas. So many Brahmins, even today, go up into the mountains, and also other caste people, meditate, really work hard, really make a lot of effort. Go into samadhi, deep samadhi, and remain in the samadhi all their life. Now, in Buddhism, that is not conducive to enlightenment. You do not become enlightened simply by going back and forth into samadhi. I'll give you an example. Every night when you go to sleep, we go to deep sleep, sushupti. That is samadhi. So every night we are technically going into samadhi. There is no thought, there is no I, there is nothing, there's just complete blank, right? Every night you are going into samadhi. If just going into samadhi and coming back, a practice would make you enlightened, everybody should be enlightened by the time they're 80 years old. So what is missing is the second type of meditation, vipassana. And what is vipassana? Vi comes from the word vividena, visheshena. Vividena means holistic, visheshena means special, and pashyana means sight. seeing, Now, it has been translated into English as insight. Unfortunately, the word in does not give the word vi correctly. The sight is sight, pashyana is pashyana. So, what do you see? You see that this is impermanent, suffering, no self, and empty. That meditation is vipassana. And there are many ways to do it. Sri Goenka teaches only one style. Go to Thailand, there are many different styles. In the Shravak tradition itself, if you go to, there are many ajans in Thailand. Ajan is the Thai word for acharya. If you go to Burma, there are many sayadaws who teach many different styles of vipassana. In the same way, in the Mahayana, Vajrayana tradition, there are many styles of vipassana. And in the Bodhicharya avatar, Santidev, 6th century, says, Samathena vipassana suyukta kurute klesha vinasanam. By uniting samatha and vipassana, we destroy klesha. So, without vipassana, klesha is not destroyed. Because without vipassana, nations is not destroyed. If nations is not destroyed, klesha is not destroyed. And going into samatha type of samadhis don't destroy those. So those are two types of meditation. And samatha meditation, Hindu yogis really make great effort. My Guru, Vajrayana Rinpoche used to say, some of these Hindu yogis meditate with such effort they make, it's amazing. If they had the right view and the right method, they would go into rainbow bodies. That's what he used to say, But that's what it is. That's the difference between Hindu practice and Buddhist practice. And the Buddha himself said, in the Pali text, Samyutta Nikaya, Dhammacakka Pavatana Sutta and Nagara Sutta. In two suttas, he has said that he discovered the practice of the former Buddhas. Pubbha kehi sama sambuddhehi anuyato. And that has not been heard now, means it did not exist when the time of the Buddha. Anasutesu, na sunyako. Not heard. And what was that? That was vipassana. Because samatha was already existing in the Indian subcontinent. He himself studied with two Sraman gurus who were Brahmins, but they were Sraman, Alar Kalam and Udrak Ramputra. And they taught him samatha. So he did not mean samatha, he meant vipassana. So this was the contribution of the Buddha to the world. Nobody taught vipassana. In later centuries, people pick up and made their own vipassana, that's a different thing. But the original person who brought out vipassana and the teachings of the former Buddhas was Sakyamuni Buddha. And this is what he contributed to. He did not teach meditation. Meditation was taught in the Indian subcontinent thousands of years before him. So he did not bring meditation into the world. He taught vipassana. And what is called mindfulness is an aspect of vipassana, not the whole of vipassana. It is an aspect of vipassana.